sometimes I can easily talk myself into being a little bit negative, looking at the glass half empty. I always sell myself short on what I've gotten done during the year. And I felt like even this year, like I didn't get my businesses to profitability yet and my new businesses, and doesn't feel like I've done that much. And sometimes I can easily talk myself into being a little bit negative, looking at the glass half empty. And reviewing the year today was amazing to see what the year actually looked like. And I also have my morning pages journal here, and I reviewed, I wrote down some of the wonderful things that I have thought about for the year. And I'm going to go through a couple of those with you because it's been really interesting. Like we just released the 50th episode of the Life in Transition podcast. There's 50 episodes. It's more than a wisp of smoke now. It's something really real with 500 five-star reviews. 100% of them are 5-star and over 500 reviews. So think about other major things. I had a wonderful ski trip in Taos with friends and a sort of a dry run for retreats in New Mexico in February. I had March skiing with Sawyer and other friends out in Taos as well. I'm Art Blanchford, and this is Life in Transition. Happy New Year. Welcome to the first episode of Life in Transition podcast for 2025. In this episode, we are going to talk about reflections on 24, a year in transition, as well as planning and learnings to take forward into 2025. So I wanted to start with a poem from a book, Ruby Quar, that my daughter gave me. Actually, two very small poems that I've been reflecting on a lot recently. My daughter gave this to me for Father's Day in 22. So the first one is very short, but it really means a lot to me. I thought I could accomplish my way into being happy, but nothing on the outside fulfilled me on the way it had promised. So I think that's what we do in the first half of our life. I know I did. In the first half of my life, I thought I could accomplish myself to being happy, accomplish my way to being happy, that if I did certain things, if I made certain money, if I had certain positions or children or wife or house or car, then I would be happy. But that if-then equation simply doesn't work. Turning over 2 pages, as I did on Thanksgiving actually this year, our souls will not be soothed by what we achieve, how we look, or how hard we work. Even if we manage to make all the money in the world, we'd be left feeling empty for something. Our souls ache for community. Our deepest being craves one another. We need to be connected to feel alive. So whatever you do this year in 25 coming forward, when you're reviewing 24 and planning this year ahead the planning you've already done, make sure a big part of that is connection. We know that relationships are what make us feel alive. We know that connecting to others is super important. So that's something to keep in front of you. This morning, I was reviewing my year, and Tony Robbins has a great process, and I'll recommend this to you as well. And I do this every year, that you go back through, you get your phone or your iPad, which I have mine sitting somewhere here as well. I did it on my iPad because you can see it better, or your computer, put it on a big screen TV if you want. Go back through and review your pictures, review everything that you have looked at through the whole year, and pick your favorites. Right? Put a little heart or star or whatever it is you need to do on your system to pick your favorites. It's a wonderful way to remind ourselves about, quite frankly, how wonderful our life is. I always sell myself short on what I've gotten done during the year. And I felt like even this year, like I didn't get my businesses to profitability yet and my new businesses, and doesn't feel like I've done that much. And sometimes I can easily talk myself into being a little bit negative, looking at the glass half empty. And reviewing the year today was amazing to see what the year actually looked like. And I also have my morning pages journal here, and I reviewed, I wrote down some of the wonderful things that I have thought about for the year. And I'm going to go through a couple of those with you because it's been really interesting. Like we just released the 50th episode of the Life in Transition podcast. There's 50 episodes. It's more than a wisp of smoke now. It's something really real with 500 five-star reviews. 100% of them are 5-star and over 500 reviews. So think about other major things. I had a wonderful ski trip in Taos with friends and a sort of a dry run for retreats in New Mexico in February. I had March skiing with Sawyer and other friends out in Taos as well. And I finished my book. Yeah, it's not mega bestseller, but it's written for my kids and it's there and it's helped a lot of people. I've got a lot of feedback, a lot of good reviews. It's a good reference for me as well and for my kids. So I actually finished and self-published a book this year in April and had a book signing party that was a ton of fun. And to do the reading and to see my friends and family and even some friends I hadn't seen in 30 years that came out. Thank you, Jay, coming out to the book signing was really, really, really wonderful. Had a summer family trip back out to Taos as well, and another one with the extended family up to Maine. In April, I did a silent retreat at a state park and read and journaled and meditated and by myself with no electronics, not even any pictures. It was wonderful. Lots of insights. Right after that, I ran my second best marathon of my life, which is not too bad for a 52-year-old. And I also got to see the full eclipse this year with my two brothers and two young nephews. Really, really amazing. Really fun activity to get to do there. September, I had another trip to Taos and hiking and working on my house out there and getting it ready for the winter season. And at the end of that trip, I had two really great events. I went and ran rim to rim to rim with a group of friends and my brother. And what an adventure. What amazing adventure. And so many ahas and insights, and challenged myself. I've never done a 50-mile foot event before. I'd say it's run. It was more hike than run, but beautiful and amazing and challenging and spiritual and really a wonderful event. And I also got to see Chip Connolly's ranch while I was out there for the Modern Elder Academy. And I've done a class with them this year on midlife transition and learning about that, and hosted him on the podcast as well, which is really great. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and do so. He's the foremost expert on midlife transition right now, and a beautiful place there in Santa Fe. I think about the other personal development things that I've done this year, because we're either growing or shrinking. That's the way that it is. Nothing is static in life. It's either growing or shrinking. You're either getting more fit or you're getting less fit. And other personal development I've done this year, I did the Hoffman process, which I highly recommend. It was the most healing thing I have ever done in my life. 7 days in California, followed by a couple of days of integration in Lake Tahoe. Did that in June and came to have compassion for everybody that I held any kind of resentments for in my life, and broke bread and made peace metaphorically with a lot of different people from my past. Understood for the first time what they were going through as well. And yeah, it just made a huge difference for me. So that was another big step for me. Also this year, though it was virtual, it was online and Zoom, but thanks to Chip Connolly's Fireside Chats, I also had the chance to meet several of my hero authors. Ellen Langor, author of Mindfulness and many other books, and a researcher, and Liz Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love, and a bunch of other books. Big Magic, my favorite book by her. And Jerry Kalana on Reboot. So many, not to mention Chip's book, Learning to Love Midlife as well. This episode of the Life in Transition podcast is brought to you by Midlife Transition Mastery. If you have reached midlife and you are successful, you have checked all the boxes, you've done everything you thought you should do, and especially pleasing everybody else, doing what you think everyone else needs you to do, but you still feel like something's missing, like you're coming up empty, feeling alone, feeling misguided or lost. Midlife Transition Mastery Explorer community is for you. Here we will build authentic community. We will learn about the 8 steps to mastering midlife transition, and we will learn and execute living life with no regrets in our second half. Please check out the community on lifeintransition.online/MLTM, Midlife Transition Mastery. And I look forward to seeing you around the fire in this community. So many great connections there this year too. And I was able to be there. Again, I sometimes start to beat myself up for not working as hard as I used to, or as many hours as I used to, but I'm really able to be there for the key relationships in my life. And that's much more important, right? I had someone I was very close to going through divorce, and was able to show up for them and be with them and in the mediation and support them in that process. And a lot more time with friends and developing new friendships as well, which again are super important, to get out and network and make time for people, and to not feel guilty about that, to know that's something that's really important to me and really important to those that love me and that want to hang out with me as well. So I've made new friends, connected with old friends, spending a lot of time connecting with family as well. So that's been tremendous. I had 2 RV trips with my wife and my in-laws, both, and really had a great time with both of those. I'm really blessed to have wonderful in-laws. So many things that I have done this year. And then I've had the real joy in the volunteers perspective too, of taking over as president of the Sigma Chi House Corps, where my son is president of the chapter. And it's the chapter where I also went to school. And so we've done a big remodel, and with help of a lot of other folks, fundraising, and remodeled the house and made it a lot better, and really engaged in the community there and in the university, and started a small scholarship fund, a Shaki Blanchard Scholarship Fund at that same university, now that we have 4 generations of our family, starting with the Shakis, that have gone to Tennessee Tech. So been many fun things there as well, and also being really active on helping get mountain bike trails built in my local park here. And something that I really love. It's 2 miles from my house, and being instrumental of getting that done and seeing that grand opening in April. Actually, I didn't see the grand opening. I saw pictures of it because I was celebrating my 30th anniversary with my wife. And another great trip, a 2-week trip celebrating 30 years of being together for us, which is amazing. And then in May, my daughter graduated from high school. My last child, my youngest child, graduated from high school, and love celebrating that with the family as well. So many wonderful things coming up into the spring. And then I call cousin brother, Jim Hunt, which you guys have seen on the podcast a couple of times, got married in the summer. And I was really blessed to be able to support him completely in that and be the best man and stand up for him. And what a wonderful time connecting with family and friends. And again, making it important, these key relationships. We talk all the time, and he supported me so much through my transition here, leaving the corporate world and starting down this path of joy and purpose for myself. And so lovely to spend time with him and see his life flowering now and really blooming in the way that he wants. But again, to make time for those things that I hadn't made time for before and really recognize that relationships are key, are the biggest part. In September, I moved my daughter to Scotland, to college, and first time I've been to Scotland. So we explored the Highlands together. I connected with old friends that live over there and new friends that I had met during the pandemic on Zoom, but never had met in person. And again, to have that extraordinary opportunity, really, really wonderful to help get her set up. We launched the YouTube channel for Life in Transition. We launched Midlife Transition Mastery and have a great group. After a year of beta, we have a great group running for Midlife Transition Mastery Explorers Group, where we're really learning and teaching men that live the second half with no regrets, men that have done all the right things according to society, checked all the boxes, but not feeling fulfilled or feeling like something is still missing and looking forward to what to do in the second half. So that's also been wonderful and very, very fulfilling as well. So there's been so many things. Also going through stretches and growth with my parents and setting healthy boundaries there lovingly, and attending a couple of wonderful football games with my middle son. He loves football as I do too. And attending Neyland Stadium game, and then also the Big Ten Championship with Penn State and Oregon, and being able to be fully present with that, even if my team's not winning, to just enjoy the moment and be there and recognize what a wonderful life that I get to have, that I get to participate, I get to serve, and I get to connect with people. And I really am so grateful that I'm starting to recognize the importance of relationships and really pouring into those, and both family and friends, and how well that is going. And on that point, I wanted to talk about an annual review process. There's several different annual review processes that I use. The photo ones we already talked about, and I highly recommend you do that. And once you've made all your favorites, then put them in a photo album and share them with your loved ones here the first of the year before everybody gets started back up, to share those, put them up on a big screen and share those with your loved ones. It's a really great way to relive in the year, and encourage them to do the same thing. And you'll get to see your kids or your friends or your spouse, what's important to them as well. Another great way of building relationship, building connection. It's really wonderful. But there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about in the review process. I've been reading Arthur Brooks' Strength to Strength again this year. And I love the one he talks about making a bucket list, but it's not going where you think. Making a bucket list and then realizing that most of those things on our bucket list are sort of driven of the world, or driven of the things we think we should do. It's that thing, external things that we think will make us happy. So we write that down. And I did this today. I wrote that down. And then I imagine my life 5 years from now in terms of the things that I know will actually make me happy, right? Which is faith, family, friends, and meaningful work that contributes and serves others. And I see myself 5 years out in the way that my life is working, really feeling like I'm strong in my faith, strong in my family, strong in my friendships, and doing work that is earning my success, is helping others, and feeling really meaningful to me. And when I look at that and think how it takes my time to get to that picture 5 years from now, and then I go back and look at the specific things that are not as important that I have on my bucket list and letting those go. And for me, those primarily come in two categories. The first one is things that I still have this drive about being significant. So usually those things are in one of four categories, right? They're power, pleasure, honor, or significance, and money. And my biggest one is significance. Like, I want to be significant. I want to make a difference. And so there's a lot of things that I do that I would do otherwise, trying to climb the ladder or trying to make a bigger impact in the world. But that's totally useless if it's at the expense of the ones that I actually love the most, right? I don't need to have 1 million likes on something on social media at the expense of having a good connection with my son or my wife or my brother. So to really look at those things and see, are these things really serving me toward those four items that will really make me happy? And then let go of the things that are not serving me on my bucket list and focus on the things, my faith, putting time into that, family, friends, and meaningful work that also benefits others. This episode of the Life in Transition podcast is brought to you by Transition Mastery coaching. If you have made it to midlife and you're successful and you are going through transitions in your life, in your business, in your career, or in your organization, and you are looking to master those transitions, to make the most of them, to accelerate into the next phase of your organization or your life. If you're facing challenges in your business, challenges in your relationship, challenges in your health, and you really want to transition those quickly, I'm here to guide you for that. And I look forward to working with you. And you can sign up for either Pinnacle Transition Coaching or Summit. Please go to lifeintransition.online/MLTM and scroll to see the Summit and Pinnacle Coaching, or reach out to me directly on my email, art@artblanchford.com. And I look forward to connecting with you and helping you to accelerate your transitions to achieve what it is that you want to achieve in the second half in your organization and in your life, so you can live your whole life with no regrets. And then the other thing for planning, I heard this a while back, and I apologize, I don't know where I heard it. It does not come from me, but I heard it a while back that the best way for planning the year, and I've done this several times and I really love this, is to just write yourself 2 letters. The first one is the personal letter, and it's like a Christmas letter or a New Year letter that you would write to your friends and family, and just something like, this was a really great year because, and you could put it in those 4 categories: faith, family, friends, and meaningful work, contribution, or you could just write what it is. It was a really great year because my kids succeeded at school. I spent really great time with my friends. I did this new adventure. I started this new passion project that I love. I've been volunteering this way. I've traveled to these places. Whatever the things are that are important to you in your personal life, but just to write it just a free flow and not to make it too heavy. But you have one page that said, if you're looking back from the end of 2025, what would make it a wonderful year for you personally? And then the second one you could do professionally. A career or contribution, do the same thing, like sort of like a year-end review. Maybe you're having with your boss, or if you own your business, you're having with yourself and say, hey, this was a great year professionally or business-wise for me because, and then just write it down. And then you just have that in front of you, and then make sure that you're spending time on those things that are really important to you when you look back from the end of this year or from 5 years out. I think it's a simple way. It's not that complicated. And it's been really, when I look back at the end of the year and see what I wrote, it's really pretty amazing how that keeps me on track. So that's one that I would highly recommend for a planning process that's simple. You can do it in half an hour and you have something to look at to guide you as you're going through the year. The last thing I'll say on the planning process, and this is something I really need to work on, so you guys can support me in this, you ping me and let me know, is deep work, to not multitasking, to really focus on a few important things and work on those in 2 or 3 hour chunks. Don't let your emails ping you. Don't let your phone bother you. This switch tasking is a complete waste. There is no really such thing as multitasking, and switch tasking is really a waste, and it burdens us and makes us heavy and makes us unproductive. So I heard Cal Ripken speak this year on the Rich Roll podcast, and he talked about that deep work. And I think that's something I'm going to be working on and leaning into this year. And I really encourage you to as well. If there's things that you want to accomplish, if there's things that you've been thinking about for a long time, make those important and block out 2 hour chunks to work on them. So, and turn off all the distractions during that time so you can really get to the end of the year of 2025 in the way that you want to. So it's been an amazing year for me in transition. It's amazing to think that there's 70,000 downloads on the podcast, that I have a book out there, that it's got 400 or 500 5-star reviews and 100% 5-star. And I'm growing this midlife transition and really leaning into supporting and learning and supporting others, both learning and teaching at the same time, which is a great way to do both. And my heart feels really full with the relationships. And I feel really lucky and blessed for the year that I had. And I'm very excited about the year that is coming. I want to close this episode with another poem. Yes, poetry is amazing. And if you slow down enough to get into it, I'm speaking to myself here. I never could slow down enough to really enjoy it before, but it's something profound like music in poetry. And this author, John Donahue, to bless the space between us, John Donahue, if you have a chance to listen to him, Krista On Point, I think it's called, her podcast, Krista somebody, what an amazing, deep spiritual man. That's all I can say. But the first I heard of him was hearing this poem in September of 2023. And I want to read it to you to wrap up the beginning of this year. It's called For a New Beginning. In out of the way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered. It heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondering, would you always live like this? Then the delight when your courage kindled and out you stepped on new ground, your eyes young again, with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit of adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon, you will be at home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. Thank you for the support of this podcast, and I wish you a fantastic 2025 where you really lean into your relationships, your faith, and meaningful work or meaningful projects for you, and have a blessed, blessed new year. I can't wait to hear what action you are taking. Connect with me on LinkedIn or our website, lifeintransition.online, and let me know. Let a friend know too. It could be a huge encouragement to them and keep you on the track. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and it would mean a lot to me if you left a review and shared this episode with a friend. If you want to learn more about me and what I do when I'm not podcasting, please visit me at artblanchford.com. Thank you for listening. Together, let's make the most of life in transition.